The views and opinions expressed by the host and the guests are solely their individual opinions and does not reflect the opinions of the Canashame Network. Viewers be advised.
Georgia is at a crossroads. Elections, privacies, prisons, and cannabis reform are all on the line. Too many decisions happening behind closed doors, but not tonight. We're bringing it to you straight with Representative Derrick Jackson, District 68, gubernatorial hopeful. While the intro rolls, don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe. I've walked in many shoes, from the pulpit to the prison halls, behind the wheel of a big rig, and now as a medical cannabis patient and an advocate for truth. Some of you know me as Yo, the herbal trucker, but today I'm stepping in as Yo, the concerned citizen. This is Yo Rants Oversized Load, Civics Edition. We're calling out power plays, exposing broken systems, and lifting voices that refuse to be silenced. Passion fuels purpose, purpose activates power, and power, that's how we shift the system. As Kendrick Lamar said, this revolution will be televised, and I'm adding to the channel lineup. This is a revolution in motion. This is Yo Rants, Oversized Load, Civics Edition. Joining us tonight is gubernatorial Democratic candidate, Georgia State Representative Derrick Jackson of the District 68. He's a 22-year U.S. Navy veteran, former senior marketing manager at GE, and current state representative for Georgia's 68th District. From the deck of a Navy ship to Georgia's capital, Representative Jackson has charted a course defined by leadership and service. Now he's announced his 2026 gubernatorial run, bringing together his military, corporate, and public service experience. His legislative achievements include homestead tax exemptions for seniors, development initiatives for local communities, and exempting veterans' retirement income from state taxes. Jackson pledges to make Georgia the top place to live, work, and raise a family, especially in rural areas. He supports expanding healthcare access and repealing restrictive laws. Don't miss our exclusive with Representative Derrick Jackson. Insight, vision, and real talk for Georgia's future. This is the conversation you can't miss. Yo Rants Oversized Load Civics Edition starts now. All right. Let me go ahead and get this banner down. Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
It's great to be with you.
Oh, wow. I know it's just been a busy day, busy session. And just welcome to Yo Rants Oversized Load Civics Edition. And I'm just glad to have you here. So tell us a little bit about why you threw your hat in the ring, so we can just start with that.
Yeah, let's jump off the top rope. That's how Yo rolls, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
It's been a couple of times since we somebody trying to call at the same time. But the reason why I'm running for governor, what often comes true is the late words of civil rights icon, someone that we all looked up to, not just me, and that is John Lewis. John Lewis said, if you see something that's not right, not fair, not just, we have a moral obligation to do something. And this is part of my moral obligation to do something. We see our families right here in Georgia being left behind, not just in rural Georgia, I mean, in urban, suburban, and rural. Small Black farmers losing their farms. We still see the Black maternal health here in Georgia. I mean, we rank in the top 5. No Black woman, or any woman, but in particular Black women, die 4 to 5 times greater than their white counterparts. If you just think about where we are, a lot of these things are preventable.
Yeah.
No one should have preventable death stamped on their death certificate. We have young men who are being incarcerated at alarming rates because of these laws where we're taking laws for misdemeanor and making them felonies.
Yes.
I'm sure we're going to talk about the difference between legalization and decriminalization of marijuana and cannabis and things of that nature. No child should be going to school hungry, but you see a government that's taking away SNAP and WIC benefits from those families that need it the most. They're not looking for a handout. They're just looking for assistance from their government. We all need assistance at some time if you live long enough. And so as I continue on, as I stated on June 6th, when I announced my gubernatorial candidacy to run to become the 84th governor right here in Georgia, I'm focusing on those Maslow hierarchy of needs. I want to make sure that you're not just surviving, but you're thriving, that you have a roof over your head. We got to deal with homelessness. We got to deal with making sure that we have clean air to breathe and fresh water to drink. We got to make sure that when you think about healthcare, as I already mentioned, and public education shouldn't be threatened by the expansion of vouchers. And so I'm the only candidate that's talking about these things. And your listening audience can go to voteDerrickJackson.org. That's voteDerrickJackson.org. You'll see all 8 of my pillars of what I'm running for, and not only what I'm running for, but also those things I'm going to fight against. My campaign, we have an offense and defense. And I know we're in this football season now, which is the time of the year. But, I got to tell you, and there's nothing against any other Democratic candidates or Republican, but none of them have 42 years of leadership, experience, and service. And so I'm running not only because I think I'm carrying out my moral obligation, as John Lewis said, but I'm the right candidate for the right time. And here we are. And I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts. And I look forward to your questions.
Well, you know what? You said a mouthful. And one thing that I can say is that if you are elected, then it would be that one face that when we walk into some of those committees that will be missed. However, being a governor of Georgia, my question is, if elected, how will you be able to deal with the House and the Senate if it doesn't change from being change over to Democrat to Republican, Republican to Democrat, as far as the House majority and the Senate majority, because I've seen what's been happening over the past years.
Right. And listen, and I know I don't need to explain to you, because you're very familiar with these things that happen under the gold dome. But for your listening audience, and I appreciate the question, because in Georgia, we do have, and we've had, as you well know, where we had a split ticket, where we've had a Republican governor and a Democratic lieutenant governor. Sonny Perdue was the governor, and Mark Taylor was the lieutenant governor, and nothing got done, unfortunately. And so what I would try to do, the way I was trained in the military, is to find those middle grounds where we can do the right things for families, regardless of one's zip code. Let's find that common ground and do the right thing. But if they should not want to play with me, I will veto a bill, because and you've heard me say this before, but the legislation will do one or two things. It's either going to hurt you or help you. And so that piece of legislation that's going to hurt citizens in Georgia, black, white, urban, suburban, old, or young, I will veto it. Right? We got to stop. People are losing their jobs. Black women, in the last 4 months, 318,000 Black women lost their jobs because of DEI. Cultural issues should not be a wage in a political sense where people will lose their livelihood. We got folks losing their jobs at CDC. So it's now, people will often say, well, you got to worry about the blue collar. Now you got to worry about the white collar, blue collar, and no collar.
Exactly. Right? Tank top, T-shirts, everything.
I mean, we got children that's being diagnosed with measles, dying of measles. We haven't had this kind of conundrum in the last 2, maybe 3 decades.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate your question. If the House and the Senate, now we do have a good chance of flipping the House, though. You know that. So for your listening audience, I need you all to understand we are 11 seats from flipping the House blue. And if we do that, we're moving Georgia in the right direction. I know when I first got elected, 2016, there were only 62 Democrats.
Wow.
Now we're 80. So in that short period of time, 9+ years, we've grown 18 seats. So Georgia's moving in the right direction, right? No one should be persecuted on the color of their skin, who they love, where they work. Those days should be over, and they will be over with a governor named Derrick Jackson.
Well, yeah, that being said right there, and how you broke it down to where you don't get anything done when it's focused on the party versus the people. Now, if you don't mind sharing with how can you reach the ones in the rural community, because a lot of them might not realize that some of their legislators are some of the ones that are voting against hemp and cannabis, legislation. Just because you're Republican, that's one thing. But the thing is, they're voting against cannabis and hemp. How will you be able to reach them? Is that going to be one of your main talking points when you go to rural Georgia?
I listen. We've been spending a significant amount of time in rural Georgia since June 6th, as you well know. And there was a couple of times, I had just came back into town and went to an event on that Sunday. Y'all were playing bingo and everything.
Oh yeah,
that was a great time. And I share with you, organizations such as yours, the mere fact that I don't care if individuals are Republican and Democrat. We got to put this political stuff aside. I see cannabis in 3 ways. I see hemp in 3 ways. And it's going to come down to medicinal, recreational, and retail. And in fact, as I promised you all, I've been working on my bill. I've been working on this bill. I've been working on this bill this summer so I can introduce it, because I want to make sure we take a comprehensive approach. I want to make sure that we have the terms decriminalization and legalization, right? You can't be in this bill that I'm going to introduce. You can't be fined over $100 if you're carrying less than an ounce, right? I have in this bill that we should be able to, for those who want to be entrepreneurs, to be able to get into this $40 billion industry. It's no different than alcohol, right? It all falls in that category. And so we just want to make sure that we empower the citizens, hold them accountable and responsible, but we should not keep a product like this that's helping our veterans, those who are dealing with PTSD. I have young people in my district where their parents were leaving the state and coming back with the product because their children were having seizures, 60 to 65 seizures in one day, right? And so there's a lot of good around cannabis. There's a lot of opportunity if we just have the right legislation to help those who need it most. And for those who want to get into that business, make sure we have the proper regulations in place so they can tap into a $40 billion industry. And then for those who want the recreational side of things, it's no different than alcohol. As long as you treat that product in the most responsible way, it's okay. It should be okay in Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And as far as Georgia, a lot of people have been mistaken because, number one, Georgia does not have a medical cannabis program as far as per se, because this a low dose THC oil type thing. So you're just talking about one cannabinoid versus the entire plant. So this past session, there was some legislation that didn't even get a House vote, but it passed both committees. And I'm coming from the medical cannabis side, and I'm concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want recreation now. However, we already know this is Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you're going to try to break it down to the ones who want rec or adult use? We have to go ahead and get a comprehensive medical cannabis program first for them to be able to digest this
Mm-hmm.
versus going straight to adult use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I sit on regulated industries. That's one of the committees that I serve on. And it's just been a privilege to listen to subject matter experts such as yourself and others who are already in this space. I think lawmakers like us need to listen more. Yeah. We need to listen more and then work in the most collaborative way with subject matter experts, those who are already in this community, to help us make sure that we don't write a piece of legislation that's going to have unintended consequences. We cannot do this in a vacuum. This 6-page bill, I haven't typed this up in a vacuum. I've been meeting with you all. I've been talking to subject matter experts. I've been talking to those who were at CDC. This would be a great alternative to opioids.
Yeah.
And you have doctors that's saying, Representative Jackson, this is the best approach, right? So that way, those individuals who are not getting hooked up on pain medicine, those narcotics that's already prescribed, this will be a good alternative. And so I'm not just speaking because I'm a military veteran, but I know a lot of military veterans who need this kind of product. Because they're dealing with mental health, PTSD, and seizures, and all these other factors in our society. And this is the best way to mitigate it. But here's the other thing, that I discovered in talking to these epidemiologists. They too they're already researching on this product. They're just waiting for us to catch up with them. And so as we continue to hear voices like yours that champion this effort, and legislators like myself, I just got to convince my colleagues on the Democrat and Republican side that this is the right thing for Georgians. Yeah. And we'll make sure that we have guardrails. A 16-year-old shouldn't be in this product. So in this bill, listening to you all, you got to be at the age of 21 and up. No different than tobacco products, no different than alcohol products. And so I just wrote that same language from the Georgia Code, and I just put this right here in this bill. We shouldn't have, and this is a bipartisan. I'm approaching this in a bipartisan way, not in a partisan way. This will make Georgians, for those who need it, better in a better situation than having to deal with opioids, dealing and getting. And I mean, all this overdose. We've had celebrities, and again, I know you know this, but I'm speaking to your listening audience. Our celebrities are dying from opioids, overdose. Yeah. I have yet to hear someone OD on marijuana.
Nope.
I've yet to hear someone OD on cannabis.
Yeah.
Eating too many brownies or gummies. And I'm not trying to be funny or facetious, but I have not heard anyone ODing on Snoop Dogg didn't OD. I mean, so Georgia's got to catch up.
Yeah.
Legislators like myself just got to listen more to the subject matter experts who are in this space. And then we could also best practice from those other states who are doing this from a retail.
Yeah.
And so when we keep talking about, we need to bring more money into Georgia, this would be a good way for us to bring more revenue. I mean, this is a $40 billion industry, and we're not playing in this industry. It's no different. And again, I just want to make sure I'm clear because I don't want somebody to say he's running for governor and he wants to give marijuana out.
No.
Let me just be absolutely clear. This approach that I'm taking is no different than Coke 45 beer, no different than those who drink alcohol beverages like vodka and Patron and I'm going to make sure that everyone will be managed in the most responsible way. Period. End of story. But it makes no sense that we do not have a comprehensive bill from a medicinal, recreational, and retail. And I'm putting all three of these aspects into one bill. So, because once we start doing a bill here, a bill there, and a bill there, it's going to be contradicting and it confuses the Georgia code. And then our citizens, going to get confused. This will be a one-stop shop. And I don't have to have any of the credit, but I'm the only legislator that's been meeting with you all and approaching this in the most comprehensive, collaborative way.
Well, that's one thing that we're grateful for, because after having these different blue ribbon committees about cannabis and hemp, and dealing with the fact that we've only seen mostly prohibitionists, and that's our issue. It's like they have a misconception of who we really are. A lot of us are professionals, and we just choose to use a natural approach to treat our conditions. Now, looking at the current legislation that's up under that gold dome, I'm sure you were there when those parents pushed those kids into the Capitol, told their stories. And I look at some of those legislators that still voted against HB 324, but they claim to care about the kids. So how can we really and truly say we care about the kids if you don't completely, show it? You're saying one thing, but you're doing something totally different, because it seems like they can't even bear the name medical cannabis. They had a great bill this year. They did. Yeah. It got past the House, the Senate, but it didn't get a floor vote. Now,
well, one of those couples, they were my constituent. That's and it's her daughter that were having these multiple seizures, and as a father, my wife and I, we have the beautiful blend of 7 children, 4 daughters and 3 sons. And I was looking at all those children, and that, man, the stories, not only because the stories touch me, it's because these are Georgians asking for the Georgia General Assembly for help. They don't want to have to keep flying over to Denver, Colorado, or up to Seattle, Washington, and breaking all kind of laws. These parents were asking the Georgia General Assembly for help. They're asking them for help. And so, to answer your question, I strongly encourage your listening audience to go and look at every legislator, Democrats and Republicans, and see how they vote, and then put that on social media. Put your legislators on blast. That's how you hold us accountable. And so and that's why, I've been doing this for almost 10 years, as you know. I never had any of my constituents come up to me and say, Derrick, you contradicted yourself.
Okay.
Never. And because when I vote yes or when I vote no, because I don't walk on votes, I don't conveniently, mysteriously get up out of my seat and go to the hallway. I don't do that. As a leader, as a retired lieutenant commander, I'm either going to vote yes or I'm going to vote no. And then I have the responsibility to inform my constituents why I voted yes and why I voted no. And that's the reason why I've been unopposed. That's the reason why I keep getting reelected, because there's something to be said about integrity and honesty.
And that matters, in authenticity, because if you're the same on the same day as you are the next day, it's like, okay, well, do you have good days or bad days? But actually, you can pretty much balance that out. But speaking of your District 68, what does that cover? What areas?
So I used to cover 7 cities. So every time, when somebody said, well, I counted 7, because that 7th city is College Park. They gerrymander me out, but I still do a lot of work with College Park. Technically, I only have covered 6 cities, and those 6 cities is the city of South Fulton, Union City, and Fairburn. That covers the South Fulton area. And then I go into Fayette County. That's Tyrone, Peachtree City, and Fayetteville. But like I said, I keep, I've been conditioned to keep saying College Park, because I still take care of College Park, even though I was gerrymander out during the everything was redistricted a few years ago.
Yeah, because I think they're still playing games with that, because especially what happened in Texas, and like I say, you never know what may happen here in Georgia, because we've been watching the legislations for the past 3 years. And what I've noticed is some of the same legislation that's being passed federally and being pushed with these executive orders were some of the same bills that was passed over the past few years. A couple of years ago, they passed a bill that would incarcerate someone for more time than for destroying a police car versus assault. So, in just looking at how they did with the cash bail, and just looking how that's mirroring from place to place, how is it that, I'm gonna get to this right here, because I don't know where I was going with that. It's just amazing how so much is going on nationally that Georgia seems to have started it in the beginning, because it's like a lot of these bills are mirroring each other, all the way.
You're exactly right, yo. And for your listener audience, to Yo's point, the reason why Georgia is always first, because we start in January. And so if you look at all 50 states, especially the 11 southern states, Georgia kicks things off. And so we sort of, unfortunately, in the last 24 years, have been under Republican rule here in Georgia. And so the Heritage Foundation will push these bills to Georgia first. Like voting restriction bills, like Jim Crow bills, like anti-woke or anti-DEI. All these bills coming out of Heritage Foundation, because the Heritage Foundation is the brain trust around Project 2025. And so when you think about, your excellent question, when you look at that 900 plus document, they were all bills, and they were testing them out. And so now that they got the individual reelected that's occupying the Oval Office, he's doing executive orders. So now they're like 50% already implemented the Project 2025. And so now everything's being precipitated down to the states. And guess who starts in January? You guessed it, Georgia.
Yeah, because I noticed this past session, it was a whole different energy up under that gold dome. I mean, the things that were happening, it's just like people were just throwing their weight around. Like, oh, we ain't got to really listen to you all. Just looking at how I think.
But say his name. Go ahead. You want me to say his name? I'll say his name. Burt Jones. Burt Jones, the lieutenant governor, already had this plan from the Heritage Foundation. And so if you look at those atrocious bills, all came out of the Senate this session, right? They got them passed through the House. And then the most insulting thing on Sine Die, they're going to close their doors at 9-10 p.m. I've been down there almost 10 years, and we typically get out of Sine Die at midnight
or later.
Or right, or later,
Later.
right,
Yeah.
or later.
Yeah.
So they got all these atrocious Trump bills passed, closed their doors at 9:10. We stayed here because we're like, they got to be joking. They got this on recess or something. So we didn't leave until 10:37 p.m. A whole hour and 27 minutes later. Because we thought for sure the Senate is not going to just all these other bills, so which were some very good bills, right? Some of the bills that you were talking about did not get on the floor because the Senate decided we did our dirty work, all the damage was done, and here we go.
Yeah, because I was extremely disappointed because I'm like, look, can y'all at least just stomach just to change the name of the program? Because that brings up, hold on, I think I have a video for this right here because it's dealing with how they have those rider bills. And what they do is to add everything in at the last minute. And I think this is one thing that they did. I don't have it right now. I thought I had it, but
no. So let me explain to your listening audience what you're referring to. So there are two critical dates in the Georgia General Assembly: crossover and sine die. Crossover is this magical halfway point where the bills in one chamber got to go to the other, and then vice versa. If they do not meet that threshold by the time, because midnight, we tend to get out at midnight. By the time we adjourn on crossover, those bills supposed to die.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden they get this Frankenstein life and come back to life because they'll take bits and pieces of one bill and say it's germane to another bill and insert all the contents into another bill. Now, there's one of three reasons why they would do that, right? One, because it didn't meet the threshold in crossover day. That's number one. Or two, they want to take a good bill and kill it. So they take a very good bill and say, we're going to take the contents because it's germane, and we're going to insert these bad stuff into a good bill to kill the overarching bill. Because they know we just can't stomach that, right? As Democrats, we a little bit of poison it is no different than a lot of poison. They both going to kill you.
Yeah, that's kind of like how they disguised that one bill right there, SB 127. It started out as a teacher's bill as far as adding more time and the retirement and stuff like that, but they added the DEI portion to it. People don't realize that DEI includes women, not just Black people. That DEIA affects all people. And you think about it. You mess around and temporary injure your leg or something. Then what happens? You get a temporary handicap sign, but then you don't have a ramp. That DEIA protected you.
Yeah. No, listen, you're exactly right. And the bill, again, for the listening audience. So the bill Yo is talking about. So let's say this particular bill fits the Georgia code. And so they'll take another bill that also fits the Georgia code, and then they inserted that, right? And they knew exactly. I mean, this was just intentional, right? They knew they wanted to kill a very good bill. So I recall one time we took a bill, and it was around helping children with disabilities, right? A very good bill, because our children, our babies who have some form of disabilities or they're on the spectrum, they often get left behind. And so one of my colleagues had a very, very good bill in this space. Is going to help our children with those disabilities. It adds more dollars to make sure that these schools have the right personnel and staffing wise to help our babies with disabilities. That bill was going along well. And they put some sinister stuff in this bill.
Yeah.
Because it related to public education.
It's a shame.
And that killed the whole bill. We had a bill talking about let's say talking about the eardrums.
Yeah.
And they put in there, well, we want to do something with the nose and the mouth. Kill the bill. I truly believe when I become governor, every bill should stand on its own merits. None of this Frankenstein, none of this Christmas tree, none of this, we're going to put this on top of this bill and this. I mean, I will kill that policy under that. Every bill should be able to stand on its own merits. And if it doesn't stand, then kill the bill.
So that being said, how is that possible? Would you have to amend Georgia's constitution, or is it just some type of policy that, you have to push with a legislator as far as like a rep or a senator?
Yeah, it's a rules book. It's
okay.
No legislation required.
Okay.
They call it a rules book, but they don't follow the rules.
Gotcha. They
don't follow the rules. But it's called a rules book, and every 2 years we vote. Well, with exceptions last time, we didn't get a chance to vote, but that's a different story. But every 2 years, the rules book is designed so we can maintain decorum in the House and the Senate. And the rules in the Senate are very different than the House. And so, but nonetheless, I would tell both chambers that the days of the Christmas tree, we call it, and Frankenstein will be over. If your bill cannot stand on its own merits, then so be it.
Yeah, because I saw
you can't change the bill numbers too, because that's the other thing, as you well know, we'll change the bill numbers on it too. You'll be tracking, oh man, my bill is House Bill 123, and then all of a sudden you look again, House Bill 123 is talking about something completely different. We'll take all the contents out of the bill and put something else in the bill, and then all of a sudden, you've been exposed to the trickery. We got to stop playing games.
Yeah.
Citizens don't elect us to come down here and play all these, shell games.
Yeah. And so speaking of that right there, that goes to this one particular piece of legislation. I know I mentioned it to you before, that's still alive. That's SB 27. SB 27, which talks about basically it's going to stop a lot of whistleblowers, a lot of people from following and tracking what lobbyists is sending money to these legislators. Now, with SB 27 and with all these other bills that passed prior to that, that right there is just going to pretty much, in my opinion, is just going to go ahead and stunt the voice of the people, especially what they did with the public records, requesting public records. So,
yeah, listen, that bill is a horrendous bill.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, as a legislator, talk about you're for transparency, and then you introduce bills that's anti-transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everything that we do under that gold dome, and again, this is for your listening audience, it should be public knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we do, every meeting should be streamed. We should be able to share our minutes. We should, if we're having a committee meeting, we should be able to advertise that days in advance. We shouldn't be changing the date and the time and the room at the last minute. And then when citizens take time off of their busy schedule, time from work, right? Then they come over to this mysterious building, and then we told them to go in the room 406. They go to 406.
Yeah.
That's a different committee meeting. And we actually moved that meeting from 406 to 605. That's wrong.
Yeah.
We got to stop doing that. You cannot talk about you for transparency. You cannot say you're a public servant, because the word public means to be open.
Yep.
Available. And if citizens are asking for lobbyists or legislators to show their open hands, especially when it comes to money. When it comes to legislation, then we should not have the ability to introduce legislation that's the antithesis of that, right? We need whistleblowers.
Yeah,
right?
we do.
We need someone that's saying, hey, this is wrong.
Yeah.
This is wrong, right?
Yep.
This is how we become good stewards. And these kind of bills are going to hurt us, because then if you're doing things in the dark and behind closed doors and citizens are not aware, then that just leads the citizens to create all these kind of perceptions that we're all doing something that's crooked, and that's far from the truth. You have someone like myself that speak with authenticity, integrity, and honesty, not because I served 22 years in the Navy. It's because that's the way my mama raised me.
All right now.
My mama raised me. My mama said, Derrick, if they lie, they'll cheat. If they cheat, they'll steal. And if they steal, they'll kill. And so I had one too many spankings, not to tell my mama an untruth. And so, and then when I went into the Navy, that just crystallized the importance of honesty and integrity and being authentic, because I had to maintain a top secret clearance for all my time during those 2 decades.
Yeah.
But also when I'm in charge of men and women, officers and sailors, I'm not going to have them do something that I'm not going to willing to do. And so that's where the authenticity, that's where the integrity comes from, and honor and courage. All those things are not just bumper stickers with me. And you've seen me in action, both down at the Capitol, at the I forget the bar place where we did the bingo thing.
Yeah.
It should be day or night. Who am I as a person, as a father, as a husband? Because as a legislator, again, it's important to make sure, am I doing things that's going to hurt you or help you? That's my metric.
I got you. And that right there, when we're talking about the transparency, while the government is not being as transparent, they passed legislation this year, HB 161, and that one was dealing with how the GBI can get into your browser history without a subpoena. Now, how many people you think that's going to really and truly affect? Or,
we have a constitution that guarantees us civil liberties.
Mm-hmm.
We have a constitution that says that I have the right to go online. I know that there was no computers available back in 1776, but the First Amendment is still the First Amendment.
Yeah.
No one should be violated in their privacy.
Yeah.
I was one back in 9/11. I did not like this whole Patriot Act. I think there are boundaries that government should be able to preserve. And once you go beyond those boundaries, then that's a problem when you start to take away citizens' civil liberties. I just have a problem with these bills. And sometimes, heck, because we're going through so many bills at a flurry, I suppose I voted no on that bill. And then by the time I try to go back and try to kill the bill. And so we did that. I did that when they try to pass this bill that look at all the housing across Georgia and use this consumer index and say the houses in Buckhead should be evaluated with the houses down in Macon.
Okay.
That's wrong.
No, the cost of living and everything is different.
Everything is different. You know that, come on. And so I always try to, and then I went out on social media and informed everybody about the bill. Because like I said, during crossover and Sine Die, these bills be coming at us at a flurry. But once it be brought to my attention, once I start, catching up on the bills, I try to inform the public, especially on those bills that requires a constitutional amendment, and they are coming to you all as a referendum. Because even those referendum questions, you got to be a Rhodes Scholar to try to figure it out.
Yeah, that's what happened to a lot of us during a situation of a recent election some years ago. The language that was on that particular ballot, that referendum, it seemed like it was a good decision. So yeah, it's great to vote yes. However, if you read it again, it's like, wait a minute, how is this voting yes for this, but it's another for something that doesn't exist yet? So they put that tricky language in there. So yeah, I get it. So you got to study before you go.
Yeah, you do. You do got to study before you go. I mean, let's take AI, for example.
Yeah.
AI is moving at a very fast rate for us. I mean, but somebody can use AI to steal your identity. Did you know that?
Absolutely. Yeah, because that video ahead of time, that wasn't my voice. That was actually AI. The promo, that was AI. I'm just saying. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That was AI.
See?
So, yeah.
So we got to protect your identity, because identity theft is not just somebody getting your credit card or your debit card. Identity theft to me is somebody that's not you acting like they're you.
Exactly. It's a dangerous area right now. Dangerous situation, because not only can they affect you, your credit, they can affect you criminally. They could do some crazy stuff, with your identity. So yeah, you got to protect that, So I understand that SB 27 in a sense. However, that particular bill, if you read it a little bit further, it just deals with protecting the Karens and Kens, what they have deemed to be Karens and Kens, to penalize the person who's reporting on it. Say, for instance, we have some Karen in a store that attacks this elderly person. Okay, you put it on social media, they mess around and lose their job, they can come back and sue you. See, that's why we have to protect a lot of these journalists out here too. So, but yeah, I get you with that.
Yeah. So and I'm glad you brought that up, because you're bringing back the memory when we were dealing with this bill, and I made the statement in the House. We should never introduce legislation where my rights end where yours begin.
Mm-hmm.
We all got to have the same rights, right? But we're getting it to the point where they'll say, well, your rights end right here, and then my rights are all of this. Like, wait a minute. No, that's not how we should legislate. That's not how we should govern, right? And so Karen doesn't have the right to call 911 because she perceived that this 6'2", 200-pound black man, I look suspicious. I don't know what the definition of suspicious look like. I don't think that definition is 6'2" black man, right? Did I say something where you dial 911? Because that happened a few years ago. A father went into Walmart to purchase his son a plastic gun for his birthday. Somebody picked up the phone, dialed 911, and said there's a black man with a gun. And unfortunately, that dad is no longer with us.
Yeah, that's sad. A lot of people don't realize, the effects of those calls, kind of like the Emmett Till thing, when she had a chance to live out her life up until the very end when they found out who she was. But that leads me to believe that a lot of times they try and keep things under wraps and people protected. Just like they are releasing these different files and stuff federally, and that being said, we're going to lead over here. I'm going to go ahead and catch this one right here. Since you did, we're going to hop back to what you're talking about with the House and the Senate, and it's being Republican led. And I'm just looking at how you all stood and walked out this past session because of some legislation. And I know they continue to put those buzzwords in there, like, okay, yeah, gender affirmation. I know I said that word. Said it wrong, but they want to deal with transgender, and they want to talk about, well, we want to make sure that we're not using this funding for those who are incarcerated to get gender reaffirmation. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take a look at this right here, because it wasn't just about the gender part of it, but here we go.
Welcome back. New developments at the state capitol as Georgia House Democrats walk out of the chamber right before a vote. Lawmakers were debating Senate Bill 185, a Republican-backed piece of legislation that would bar taxpayer money from being used to pay for certain treatments for state inmates, including gender-affirming care. Well, after a speech by Tanya Miller, a House Democrat, many of her colleagues left the House floor. The bill passed 100-2, with many Democrats staying outside the chamber. Democrats returned to the House chamber shortly afterwards, but not before accusing Republicans of wasting time on issues they say are not important to Georgians. Republicans also accused Democrats of not doing their jobs as elected officials and said the bill included some exemptions for medically necessary treatments.
I was there, and I was part of that walk. I just, that was that day 37, 38. I mean, we got to the point where we just had enough. We just had enough. I mean, we could have been arguing about the difference between cheesecake and red velvet cake. I mean, it was just too much. Everything was America first, and we're the patriots, and I mean, it was just horrible. Going against immigration, going against transgender, LGBTQ, and boys and girls bathroom. I mean, it was just horrible. It was just horrible. It was like a cultural war. And it got to that point that it was just, people were like, you know what, we're just mad. We got to do something. We're pissed off. And so, but let me just put a finer point, because it wasn't just about that bill. It was a culmination of everything. I mean, look at where we are right now. You have ICE raiding multi-billion-dollar companies that we convinced to come to Georgia and pay billions and billions of dollars to set up their automobile industry. I mean, manufacturing plant right here. And we just let ICE go in and arrest 400 people.
Something ain't right about that. It ain't right.
I mean, we just got 5 or 6 men jumping out of an unmarked van, abducting women and children and detaining them, and they don't know if they're being kidnapped or abducted. These people don't even identify themselves as law enforcement or ICE. They got a mask on, sunglasses on, a hat, right? So that way there's no facial recognition, because we got cameras all over the place.
Yeah.
They don't learn after they did the assault on January 6th to cover up their whole face now.
Yeah, but they had problems with masks in 2020.
That's right. They got masks. Yeah, I know.
It's my constitutional right not to wear my mask, but now you're wearing a mask. And if you look at some of those people hopping out the back of those rider vans,
you don't know who they are.
You
don't know if you're being kidnapped by, you just don't know. You just don't know. And so and then they got this whole thing around, as you've already stated, so I won't go over it again, but around DEI. And woke and all these things. And so it was just at that point, it was the tipping point. Folks just had enough, and myself included. And so here are the facts. In Georgia, the Georgia High School Association said we have 0 incidents where young men are trying to play girls' sports. 0. But I didn't want to just stop at high school. So I wanted to find out from the NCAA, being that I have children that are in college, got 2 sons playing collegiate football at D1 schools. And so I said, you know what? They talking about high school. I just wonder, is that happening in college? Because see, college, you got a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
So out of 510,000 student athletes, Division 1, 2, and 3, 510,000. Do you know how many individuals went through a conversion, gender conversion, out of 510,000?
What, 1 or 2?
Ready?
How many?
9.
Okay, gotcha. That's
9 out of 510,000. And those 9 stopped playing sports after they went through the conversion. So they're manufacturing problems where there is no problem. You don't find young ladies trying to go in the men's bathroom, and you don't find men trying to go in the young ladies' bathroom. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I can be honest.
Cultural, social wars, and folks just had enough. Enough was enough.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm looking at the whole big picture when it comes to going in the restroom. Even though I guess I identify as queer, and more, you see my appearance, you know what I mean? Because I'm old school from the 90s, and we didn't have all those different terms and stuff. Now I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but I had issues when they started bringing this stuff to attention about the restrooms. Going in the restrooms, being a truck driver, and I'm on the road, and I get out my truck, I'm walking in the bathroom. Once upon a time, I didn't have a problem walking in there, without them saying, oh, it's a dude kind of thing. Now, then it changed when they started talking about that and started, villainizing, these people that's just trying to live. But
we got to get back to a sense of humanity, yo. Right? Yeah. We got to get back to a sense of humanity. There was a time you should be able to love whoever you want to love. There's a time that, when we remove those signs saying colored bathrooms and white bathrooms, because that's when people were profiled, right? Yeah. If you're black, you go over here. If you're white, you go over here. But when we took those signs down, we stopped profiling. You go in that restroom, you handle your business, and then you leave the restroom. You weren't profiled. People weren't looking at you sideways. And so now here we are. We got profile people. Yeah. And there's no way I'm about to give you breaking news right here on your show. News alert. These laws that they want to enforce, talking about bathroom breaks and bathroom, who goes in what bathroom, there's no way to enforce that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's going to allow for you to check their private areas before they go into a restroom.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be funny, but you can't enforce that. You can't enforce it by how someone's dressed, if they're wearing a bow tie or not, if they got a suit or not, if they got short hair, long hair. You can't, there's no way to enforce it. So why create a law that you cannot enforce?
Yeah, I get you. We're going to move on right here because I'm looking at the time. Also, I wanted to go ahead and touch on about Georgia's prison. I'm a former correctional officer, and I realized that how it has declined over the past years. I know when I was there, it was back in 96 through 2004, I was there. And it was a different time than what it is now. Been seeing videos and stuff on the internet of people being murdered and stuff in there. Coming in as governor, what would be your priorities when it comes to the Department of Corrections?
That's an excellent question as well. I would tell you this. During my 22 years in the Navy and as a lieutenant commander, you bring in those subject matter experts and you do three things. You listen to them, number one. Number two, you provide them resources to effectively do their job. And then number three, get out of the way.
Okay.
Get out of the way. So I'll bring in all the sheriffs from across Georgia, urban, suburban, and rural. All the sheriffs, come on in. All the probation officers, correction officers, come on in. Let's have a conversation. Yeah. We're gonna have some. I don't drink coffee, but I drink hot chocolate. So we're gonna have hot chocolate and donuts, and we're gonna have a conversation.
I hope so.
Say, here is the problem. This is the conundrum. And I need to know, what is it that you need? Because your county is different than this county. Your city is different than this city. See, we got to stop this broad brush, and we got to listen to people, then provide them the resources, and then get out of the way. Because once we discover by listening to them, it's going to be staffing. Yeah. Or the jail is too old. The jail is 40 years old, right? It's overcrowding. We're not handling inmates in the proper fashion. They're still human beings.
Yes.
They just broke the law and they got to be held accountable. But you don't treat them as animals. You got to bring the humanity back into our society, because we want them, when they reintroduce themselves back into society, not to return to the jail cell. I want to take our recidivism rate, if it's in the 50s and 60s, bring it down to the low teens. But you need resources. You got to invest. And you got to listen to the subject matter experts, and then get your butt out of the way.
I got you. And speaking of getting out the way, I'm looking at how they are providing funding now for the state of Georgia to house more concentration camps here. Now, that being said, if that's federal dollars that's going to be allocated towards those concentration camps here in Georgia, being governor, I'm just trying to find out, what would you do with that funding? Would you send it back like the previous Republican governor sent back the Medicaid funding that could have helped millions of people?
Yeah, listen, I am so happy that I'm on your show tonight, because these are excellent. I'm telling you. I spoke out against this when I discovered a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks now, that Georgia will have the largest detention center for immigration in the United States. Not only will I send that money back, but I would take that building and repurpose it. I would change that building to bring in the homeless, the unsheltered, help them get back on their feet. A second chance. Some may need a third chance. See, that's the beautiful thing. When I understand the Constitution, and I'm not a lawyer, but I know how to read. I write laws for a living. I'm not a lawyer, but I write laws for a living, and I know how to read. The 10th Amendment will empower me as the governor to tell the federal government, you overstepping your boundaries.
Okay.
Right? It's no different than the federal minimum wage is $7.25. But you know what Georgia's minimum wage is, yo?
What is it?
$5.15.
Wait a minute. Wait. It's still $5.15? I didn't know that. Oh my good. Wait, $5.15 an hour.
$5.15. It's been that way since 2001. Republicans, when they come out and say, we concerned about families, we're first families, for family, pro family, some kind of family, they ain't showing it. See, that's the reason why you hearing people saying eggs not affordable, gas not affordable, housing's not affordable. It's not affordable because we're not keeping up with the wages in Georgia, which is the reason why I introduced a bill. I'm either going to introduce a bill or I'm co-sponsoring a bill with my good friend, Representative Dewey, and several others. But we're always focusing every year about increasing this minimum wage. It's abysmal. It's atrocious. And so my bill, my latest bill that I introduced is House Bill 600. And it simply says the first year, go from $5.15 to $15. The next year you go to $20. Then the third year, $27. When you get to $27, which is a livable wage, right? It's actually $27.86. But who's counting the pennies, right? When you start doing that, you will no longer hear people saying eggs too expensive, gas too expensive, right? We have 2.1 million Georgians who are living below the poverty level in Georgia.
Yeah, and that's
if they're making $15 an hour, you just brought those who are in the basement up to the first floor. Now you're starting to talk about not just surviving, but thriving. Now you're talking about families being in a position to take not one, but maybe 2 vacations. Now you're talking about families who are not just living paycheck to paycheck. That 2.1 million families, you bring them up. But you can't bring them up when you're still paying folks $5.15. Agriculture is still our number one industry in Georgia. We got to help the small Black farmers. We got to help those who are working in the fields of agriculture. But it's hard for them to provide for their families when you're paying them $5.15. Even the most rural parts of Georgia takes $15 an hour. We just had a not one, but 2 paper mill plants closing their doors. They were making good money. 1,100 people. Can you imagine what they're going to do now?
Exactly.
We got to take care of our small Black farmers. We got to take care of our families in rural Georgia. And I'm the only governor that's talking about real solutions, not just identifying the problem, but real solutions.
I was just pulling this up right here. And what would help this right here? So when this plant closes, so it's just going to be just an empty plant. Now, one of my fears, I'm not sure if the audience is familiar with Schindler's List. This is back with Nazi Germany, how the factory provided pots. They were doing pots and pans and stuff. And I was just looking at how they raided the Hyundai factory. These people were training the workers there, the American workers that's going to be there working. And now that this plant is closing, with this plant closing, what would really and truly benefit this is if you can introduce that plant with agriculture, which would be hemp. Some of those hemp farmers that were ran out of business because of the HB 496 from last year, So with this plant being closed.
We can repurpose it. We can repurpose that plant, right? I mean, everything is in place, right? You got the plant in place, and then you got workers. You just got to train them, right? You got to train them to meet whatever that industry job training is. But this is where you going is exactly where I am. You cannot allow for federal government to have these tariff trade wars and expect for families not to get hurt. And that's the reason why we having these problems. The individual at the federal level start having these trade wars, talking about I'm going to put 60% tariffs here, 40%. And now you have these corporations who are looking at the United States sideways, like, well, we're just gonna close up shop, or we're gonna move our operation to South America, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. I mean, this is what's happening, yo.
Yeah, because I thought about that with the Hyundai factory, because I don't know whether or not if they have broken ground on this particular factory. It's close to my hometown, Newton County. I think they're building the Rivian plant there. And I don't know if they've broken ground, but I was just thinking, the conspiracy theorist inside of me, I'm like, wait a minute. If they closed down that factory, if they hadn't broken ground on the Rivian, will they go ahead and just automatically move to that particular Hyundai factory? Are they going to move their equipment? I guess that's just me just thinking outside the box, because everything that I've been seeing up under that gold dome doesn't seem like it's really and truly for the people. I see some hit and miss, but with the Hyundai plant, how will you rebuild the relationship between our international neighbors?
Again, your listening audience, by the time we're finished with this interview, they're going to know three things. Derrick enjoyed his time in the United States Navy because he learned so much during the 22 years. They're going to know I'm focusing on family, right? Mm-hmm. How to solve problems for families and reach those bipartisan collaborative solutions. And then number three, I'm going to use the law. I'm going to use the law in the way it was intended, and that's the Constitution. The way I would get it done is the same way when I was a liaison naval officer during my one of my tours as during our NATO exercises. I was assigned a particular country, and I had to basically act as an ambassador between this country and in that country to bring our naval operations together. And so I would do the same thing in the most diplomatic way. I would let our allies know in Korea and Japan and Britain and Italy and France and South America and Africa, I am not that old dude. Gotcha. I come to you with an open hand, not a closed fist. And I will reach the most amicable solution to where it's a win-win between us and our allies. Listen, 80% of our products are exported. Think about that. So let's go back to the small farmers who export soybeans.
Yeah.
Now, guess what? China said, I don't want your soybeans. Central America said, I don't want your soybeans. We're going to get our soybeans from Brazil. And so the way you negotiate is the most diplomatic way, but you got to remind them first, I'm not this other person.
Gotcha.
I'm coming with the experience and the skill set, having represented the United States, having been in an ambassador role, being a liaison officer between other countries from Turkey and Greece. I know how to do this. I've done it on a federal level in the Department of Defense and in the United States Navy, and I know how to do this at the gubernatorial level.
All right, then that sounds really great right there. So we're going to come to the this portion of the show as we get ready to close out. So basically, you have a choice because this is called Your Rants Oversized Load. You have a choice whether you can rant, because I know with a lot of times people don't realize, well, you ain't doing nothing but fussing. No, I am saving you from some type of eruption that might be very harmful to everyone's health. So basically, a lot of times too, when you rant, you're breaking the ground for new growth. Sometimes you got to shake people and wake them up. So got a awakening moment, or if you want to just go ahead and give a rant, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the full screen right here.
All right. Well, listen, I'm accustomed to ranting. Some people call me the radical ranter. But what you really seeing and hearing is this. I love this country. I know we have a bad history. We as Black people, from slavery to where we are. But I also realized because I had a praying grandmother, she would have been 107 if she was still alive. And she did not get a chance to see her grandson to become a naval officer. She passed away before I donned the uniform, and she actually get a chance to see me. She passed away. But I realized the opportunities that we have. I know our democracy is not perfect. In fact, it is a flawed. It's fragile. It's all the things that you possibly can say is, right? Our democracy is just the best we have it, but it requires for us to be participants. And again, I will close the way I started. John Lewis said it best. When you see something that's not right, not fair, not unjust, we have a moral obligation to do something. We cannot sit on the sideline. We watched 89 million registered voters. They sat on the sideline last year. 75 million of us voted for her. 77 million voted for a convicted felon. So I'm not sure what the 89 million did not see of the 152 million were watching, but you cannot sit on the sideline. There are a lot of folks running for governor here in Georgia. Some of them are my friends. I have nothing personal against them. I'm not running against them. I'm running for something. I'm running for the use of my skill sets. I'm running to use my 42 years of leadership, experience, and service. 22 years in the United States Navy, 10 years in corporate America, and nearly 10 years under that gold dome. And so this is not something that I, just woke up. I've been preparing for this moment all my life. It's like Jeremiah 29:11. And so I am thankful to the God that I serve. I'm thankful for being a husband and a father of 7, 4 girls and 3 boys, and a grandfather to 2. And so when I think about where we are right now, Georgia, I need you. My prayers, I pray to God each and every day, and I believe in God, but I also believe in you. This is not a popularity contest. This is not a popularity contest. We have to decide right now who will be better suited to be the 84th governor right here in Georgia. I invite you all to go to voteDerrickJackson.org, voteDerrickJackson.org. I need your prayers. I need you to financially support me. And then when it's time next year to vote for me, I will be that candidate each and every day, only to be beholden to you. I receive no national PAC funds. I'm only going to be beholden to you, and you hold me accountable, and we're going to get this thing done. And thank you, yo, for this opportunity to rant, to just be who I am each and every day as a passionate, compassionate leader each and every day fighting for us under that gold dome.
We really and truly appreciate that. And also, if you have anything that's coming up that you want to let us know about, any type of events that you got coming up before we close out.
Right now, I'm just, on this listening tour, spending a lot of time on East Georgia, West Georgia, South Georgia. Haven't been to North Georgia, but we coming soon. We coming up north. A lot of Democrats don't go up north. I'm that Democrat that's coming up north, Georgia.
All right, then. Well, you know what? We thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those of you who are watching, if you'd like to learn more about his campaign, visit voteDerrickJackson.org. That link is in the description. And if you want to find out, if you want to be a guest on Yo Rants Oversized Load Civics Edition, whether you're a candidate, a community leader, or an advocate, reach out to contact@gmcstv.com. And don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe to the Canashame Network, GMCS TV. And just don't miss an episode. You never know who might pop up. So you stay tuned for more candidates and community leaders. We have Ken Yasger that's coming on the 14th, on the Sunday. Yes, he's coming on, and I'm looking forward to speaking to my GOP candidate that I'm bringing on the show. I'm opening it up to everyone. Hopefully people realize, like, I might not have a whole lot of following or a big platform, but it might just be just that one person that's listening on my platform that might be able to change their mind just hearing from the candidate. And I'm trying to be open with everyone, you know, and just meeting people where they are, because I'm looking at, I'm having to vote as what I vote for. However, I wish that I could just go down the party line. I might want to vote for this candidate, for this and this right here. But hey, this is Georgia. Hopefully we can get that Constitution amended. But I guess we go ahead and roll on out. Anything else you got to say?
Thank you so much, Yo, for what you do. Thank you for keeping our public informed and educated. It's platform like yours. We need to tune in each and every time you have that green light, go green. So thank you for what you do.
All right, then. Well,
you need to have a truck horn.
Hey, look, I'm working on it. I am my own producer, so, you know, just give me a chance.
Maybe you can have AI manufacture a truck horn.
You know what? That just might work. All right, we're going to close out right here with you speaking. Shout out to Aviva and the USA Hemp Revival for this last little interview. And we're going to go ahead and cut it on out. Y'all go ahead on and have a wonderful year.
So I want to be clear. Georgia should have a bill in which I will introduce next session that spells out from a medicinal, recreational, and retail, from a legalization and a decriminalization perspective. So it's great that the Georgia House Blue Ribbon Committee are meeting today. They're listening to our constituents. They're listening to subject matter experts. But we need to have a comprehensive bill to spell this out, so that way we can.
It's the herbal trucker coming through the airways. Real talk, no breaks. This is where truth stays. Rolling heavy with stories untold. Not just cannabis, we break the mold. From the streets to the halls, we hit every lane. Rants with purpose, changing the game. This life is laws, it's facts we unfold. This is oversized load, and we're setting up. No rants on the mic, no fear, no cold. The truth's too big, so we overload. Hosted by Yo, the herbal truck on track. Keep it real, keep it raw, ain't no turning back.